All right, let's dive into the world of crypto again today. We're going to be talking about Ripple's brand new stablecoin, RLUSD.
It's certainly making some noise.
Definitely. And, you've been following this space pretty closely, so, this launch is a pretty big deal, especially for someone like you who's really into the future of payments.
Absolutely. What's really fascinating is that Ripple's jumping into the stablecoin game at a time when the market is, it's just booming. Dollar-backed stablecoins, their market cap has gone up like 50% just this year alone.
Wow.
And get this, like 15% of that growth has happened just since the election.
That's massive. So for anyone who might need like a quick reminder, stablecoins are basically cryptocurrencies that are designed to like hold a stable value.
Yeah.
They're pegged to, something stable like the US dollar, which makes them like perfect for stuff like cross-border payments.
Exactly. Exactly. And you've probably experienced this yourself, the frustrations of the, traditional cross-border payments, the fees, the delays, all that stuff. And that's exactly what Ripple's trying to address with RLUSD. They're already, they're a big player in that cross-border payment space.
Right.
And they see RLUSD as a way to really streamline things, make it cheaper, more efficient, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, so let's get into like Ripple's actual game plan. So RLUSD is like set to launch tomorrow, Tuesday. It got approval from the New York State Department of Financial Services.
You got the green light.
Yeah,
right.
And it's going to be available for trading on both the Ethereum blockchain and the XRP ledger, with plans to expand to more exchanges later on.
Yeah.
Now this is where things get kind of interesting, right? I'm sure you're wondering, like, how does this all tie back to XRP, Ripple's native token?
Of course.
Remember, 95% of Ripple's business is actually outside the U.S., and they are the biggest holder of XRP. So by making RLUSD available on both Ethereum and XRP ledger, they're actually they're increasing the need for XRP to act as like a bridge between those two platforms.
Right.
So it's a pretty smart way to boost the utility of XRP within their whole ecosystem.
Yeah, it's a smart move. It's all about, connecting everything.
So it's almost like RLUSD is the fuel and XRP is the engine that powers these international payments.
You got it.
Yeah.
It's all about creating a more interconnected financial network. And it's not just about trading either.
Right.
While stablecoins, have traditionally been used for that, Ripple's really emphasizing that RLUSD is mostly designed to make their existing cross-border payments business even better.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at a quote here from Jack McDonald, Ripple's senior VP of stablecoins. He said, and I quote, "As we've been using stablecoins more and more in our flows, that really piqued our interest, that we should have our own native stablecoin that can be more cost-effective and more operationally efficient to use."
That makes sense.
They're not just hopping on the stablecoin bandwagon.
Yeah.
They're really strategically integrating it into their core business.
Absolutely. And you have to remember the stablecoin market, it's pretty crowded already. Tether's at the top, obviously, and then there's Circle's USDC holding strong in second place. But Ripple's betting that, RLUSD can offer a real alternative to these big, these giants, especially with the growing concerns about market concentration and stuff.
Right. So could this be a David versus Goliath situation brewing in the stablecoin world?
It's definitely shaping up that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're tapping into that desire for, more options, more diversification in the stablecoin landscape. McDonald even mentioned that they're hearing from the market that people just want more choices, even if it's not about completely replacing the big player.
Right. You wouldn't want just one grocery store in town, right?
Right.
Competition keeps everyone honest, or at least, try. But I'm also looking at the data, and it just seems like, I don't know, a pretty steep climb to really challenge Tether's dominance. They've got a massive head start.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm curious to see, what they do. What's their plan to differentiate RLUSD? How are they going to attract users? Do they have a secret weapon, a killer feature? We'll have to wait and see.
Definitely intriguing. This launch, this could shake things up big time. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's just take a step back and look at the the bigger picture.
Okay.
What does Ripple's move into stablecoins tell us about, the future of finance?
That's a great question. It really does make you think about where things are headed. We've talked about all the potential upsides, but let's not sugarcoat it. Stablecoins aren't, without their risks.
Of course.
I think one of the biggest concerns is, regulation or the lack thereof. The crypto world, it's still kind of like the Wild West out there.
Yeah.
And that can make some people hesitant to, jump in, especially when we're talking about their own money, their hard-earned cash.
Right. And you've been following Ripple's journey for a while. You remember that whole SEC lawsuit?
Oh, absolutely.
They were accused of selling XRP as like an unregistered security.
Yeah.
Which really threw a wrench in their plans and it created so much uncertainty in the market.
Exactly. And while they did get a partial victory last year, that whole legal battle just shows you the kind of hurdles that, companies like Ripple have to deal with.
Right.
The incoming Trump administration, they've hinted that they might be more, crypto friendly.
Yeah.
But the details are still pretty vague. Until there's some clear, rules, a clear framework, it's going to be a bumpy ride.
Okay, so regulation is a big question mark.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the stablecoins themselves? How are they actually backed? Are they really as stable as they claim to be?
That's where it gets, kind of technical. Most stablecoins, including this RLUSD, are backed by reserves of traditional assets like, US dollars held in bank accounts. So basically, the idea is for every RLUSD out there, there's an actual dollar in reserve, somewhere. That's supposed to, guarantee its stability.
Right.
But the transparency and the reliability of these reserves, that's what really matters.
So if I'm following you, the stability of a stablecoin really hinges on the issuer's ability to maintain those reserves and to prove that they're actually there.
You got it. It all comes down to trust. You have to trust that the issuer is being honest and that their reserves are enough to back up all those stable coins that are out there in circulation.
Right. And we've seen cases, in the past where stablecoin issuers, well, they haven't exactly been totally transparent, which, obviously erodes trust and can lead to things becoming, unstable.
Yeah, for sure.
Which can then have a ripple effect across the entire market. It makes me think about, Tether, the biggest player in the game. They've had a lot of scrutiny over the years, people questioning the composition of the reserves. Some people worry that if Tether were to, falter, it could trigger a domino effect and destabilize that whole stablecoin ecosystem.
It's a real concern. Tether's so big, any problems they have could have huge ripple effects. That's why, diversification is so important. Having more players like Ripple entering the market, each with their own approach to, reserves and transparency, that can help reduce that systemic risk.
Okay, so for our listener who's trying to wrap their head around all of this, what's the key takeaway? What should they be looking at as they consider, maybe dipping their toes into this stablecoin pool?
Well, I think the first thing is, do your homework. Due diligence is key. Don't just buy any stablecoin because it sounds cool or it's trendy. Research the issuer, try to understand how they manage their reserve. Look for signs of, transparency and accountability. If they have independent audits, read them. It's worth it.
So check under the hood before you buy the car, basically.
Exactly. And remember, this is still, stablecoins are relatively new. The technology is changing fast and the regulations are still being worked out. There's huge potential here, but you got to be careful. Be a little skeptical.
Okay, so we've looked at the good, the bad, the competitive landscape. It's a lot to digest.
Yeah.
But to really, cut to the chase, what could a world with widespread stablecoin adoption actually look like?
Well, that's what's so exciting. Just imagine sending money across borders as easily as sending a text message. No crazy fees, no waiting days for a transfer to go through. Stablecoins, they could really change how we think about money, how we use it, how we pay for things.
And think about the impact on remittances. Millions of people rely on sending money back home to their families.
Yeah.
Stablecoins could make that so much faster, cheaper, and way more secure.
Exactly. And it's not just about individuals. Businesses, especially small businesses, they could really benefit from smoother, faster cross-border payments, open up new markets, new opportunities.
Yeah. And I'm also seeing that stable coins could offer a more stable alternative to, volatile local currencies in some developing countries. That could have a big impact on financial inclusion, on economic development.
It's about leveling the playing field, giving everyone access to a stable financial system, no matter where they live.
Okay, so it sounds like stablecoins could solve a lot of problems.
Yeah.
But are there any downsides we need to be aware of? Anything that could go wrong?
Well, like any new technology, there are always potential risks, unintended consequences. One concern is that, if stablecoins become really widely used, it could disrupt the traditional banking system. If people start using stablecoins for everyday transactions, who needs a bank account anymore?
That's a good point. But wouldn't that also mean that central banks would have less control over, monetary policy?
That's another concern. And it's something that policymakers are really struggling with right now. How do you regulate stablecoins without, killing innovation? It's a tough balancing act.
So it sounds like we're still in the early stages of figuring this all out. The technology's changing, the regulations are changing, the full impact, it's all still up in the air.
Absolutely. It's a really dynamic, really fascinating space to watch. And for someone like you, someone who's actively involved in this world, it's a chance to really be a part of shaping the future of finance.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listener to walk away with?
Stay curious, stay informed, and keep asking those tough questions. The future of finance is being written right now, and we all have a role to play in how it unfolds.
So we've really dug into this, the potential, the risks, the competition. It's a lot to process. But, for our listener who's trying to understand what this all means, like, what could a world with, widely adopted stablecoins, what could that actually look like?
That's the really exciting part. Imagine a world where sending money overseas is as simple as sending a text. No more insane fees, no more waiting days for it to actually get there. Stablecoins could really, they could revolutionize how we think about money, about payments.
Yeah. Think about remittances.
Yeah.
Millions of people sending money back home to support their families.
Right. Huge impacts.
Stablecoins could make that process so much faster, so much cheaper, and way more secure.
Exactly. And it's not just individuals, businesses too, especially smaller businesses. They could really benefit from, smoother cross-border payments. It could open up whole new markets, new opportunities for growth.
I'm also seeing here that stablecoins could be a more stable option compared to volatile local currencies in some emerging economies.
Right.
That could be a huge boost for financial inclusion, for economic development.
Yeah. Leveling the playing field,
Yeah.
giving everyone access to a more stable financial system. It doesn't matter where you live.
Okay, so far it sounds like stablecoins are like the answer to everything.
Yeah.
But are there any downsides, anything that could go wrong that we need to be aware of?
Well, like with any new technology, there are always potential risks, right? Unintended consequences. One thing that, people are worried about is that if stablecoins really take off, they could disrupt the traditional banking system.
Right.
If everyone's using stablecoins for their daily transactions, who needs a bank account?
That's a good point. Wouldn't that also mean that central banks would lose some control over monetary policy?
Exactly. That's a big concern. And it's something that policymakers are wrestling with right now. How do you regulate stablecoins without, stifling innovation? It's a tough balance.
So it sounds like we're still really early in this whole thing. Technology's evolving, the regulations are evolving, the real impact, it's all still to be determined.
Absolutely. It's such a dynamic space to watch, so much happening. And for someone like you who's, really plugged into this world, it's a chance to be a part of shaping the future of finance. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one key takeaway that you want our listener to remember?
Stay curious, stay informed, and don't be afraid to ask the tough questions. The future of finance is literally being written as we speak, and we all have a role to play in shaping it.
That's great advice. And remember, we'll be here to keep you updated on all the latest developments in this crazy world of digital currencies. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.